Hello and welcome to Behind the Scenes of Colonel Fazakerly. What we're going to do today is we're going to start with a reading of the poem itself, so you can get an idea of what we sort of started with and decided to work from. It's a poem by Charles Causley, and its full title is Colonel Fazakerly Butterworth Toast. And while I'm doing that, you're going to see some sketches, some very, very bad stick figure sketches I made of sort of plans for what it might look like, and then I'll show you beside that pictures of what it actually turned out like. Only one thing to remember, we don't actually have a working scanner, so instead the pictures are just taken with this camera, so apologies that they're not nicely scanned.
Colonel Fazakerly Butterworth Toast bought an old castle complete with a ghost, but someone or other forgot to declare to Colonel Fazak that the spectre was there. On the very first evening while waiting to dine, the Colonel was taking a fine sherry wine, when the ghost, with a furious flash and a flare, shot out of the chimney and shivered, "Beware!" Colonel Fazakerly put down his glass and said, "My dear fellow, that's really first class. I just can't conceive how you do it at all. I imagine you're going to a fancy dress ball." At this, the dread ghost made a withering cry. Said the Colonel, his monocle firm in his eye, "Now just how you do it, I wish I could think. Do sit down and tell me, and please, have a drink." The ghost in his phosphorus cloak gave a roar and floated about between ceiling and floor. He walked through a wall and returned through a pane, backed up the chimney and came down again. Said the Colonel, "With laughter I'm feeling quite weak," as trickles of merriment ran down his cheek. "My housewarming party I hope you won't spurn. You must say you'll come and you'll give us a turn." At this, the poor spectre, quite out of his wits, proceeded to shake himself almost to bits. He rattled his chains and he clattered his bones, and he filled the whole castle with mumbles and moans. But Colonel Fazakerly, just as before, was simply delighted and called out, "Encore!" At which the ghost vanished, his efforts in vain, and never was seen at the castle again. "Oh dear, what a pity," said Colonel Fazak. "I don't know his name, so I can't call him back." And then, with a smile that was hard to define, Colonel Fazakerly went in to dine.
Okay, so we're going to talk about blue screen a bit today. As you can see, we've got Leo on the screen, and as you can see, we had to resize it for the final shot because Leo was a bit too tall for our blue screen. But a sort of a bigger blue screen thing that I wanted to talk about is something that happens sometimes, and you can see sort of an example of it with Amy, who's on screen now, who we had to cut because of this. Her, as you can see, there's sort of a blue halo around her. Now I've exaggerated it slightly for dramatic effect here, but it is irritating even when it's small. So we end up having to cut her piece, and that does sometimes happen. And it doesn't seem to be much I can do about it. Maybe a clever blue screen person out there will let me know how to fix that. Right, now as you can see, I wanted to move on to backgrounds now. So you can see the mic with the church in the background. Now he's been shot against blue screen, and then we've put that in as a background. And I've just used a church that was near me for that. And the other backgrounds we all got from Coombe Abbey. Now I went there for a picnic with some friends, which was very convenient because it meant I could go and get these other shots. I debated whether or not to put picnic shots in, but I thought you'd enjoy watching some of the juggling film. Now, unfortunately, Martin does some very impressive juggling, but all the film I have just involves him dropping something. So, this is Martin dropping stuff. And yes, and then obviously I filmed the background shots here, which leads me nicely to the title sequence, which I also shot in Coombe Abbey. I hope that gives you an idea of how different elements sort of come together, or how we're using stuff around us. I hope it wasn't too dull, and that's it.
Okay, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed Behind the Scenes of Colonel Fazakerly. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.